Hi all, my name is Manish and welcome back to my YouTube channel CyberArk Tutorials. I got a good feedback about the wall server installation, so thank you so much. And I was supposed to install PVWA today in today's video, but some people texted me on Telegram and they asked me to show it from scratch how we can set up the VM, install Active Directory, and integrate it with the CyberArk components because they are pretty new and they do not know how to set up the lab environment. So that's okay. We can show you that. I already have the Active Directory installed on my VM, but since you want to see it from scratch, so I'll be doing the fresh installation. So we go to File, we go to New Virtual Machine, Typical. I will install the operating system later. We select Microsoft Windows, and it's a 64-bit operating system, so 64. Now, virtual machine name. Previously, when I installed Active Directory, I named it at 80. So if I name it 80 again, it won't be created. So let's do it 82 this time. And I'll advise you to allocate at least 60 GB of space. It totally depends how much space you have on the machine. On my machine, I have 500 GB hard drive. So I have already allocated 60 GB to the Active Directory. But uh, since I'm just showing it here, so I'll be doing 40 GB because I don't need it. Once the video is done, I'll be deleting it. So I'm just giving 40 GB space because I'll be using this one most of the time. That's my primary AD. And then finish. So this is just a dummy machine. It doesn't have the operating system yet. So what you can do, you can go to the Microsoft website and you can download the ISO file from there. I did the same. It will be active for around 6 months, so you can use this image and install the operating system on the Active Directory. So to do that, what you have to do, just go to Settings, use the ISO. So I have saved it under Pictures. Select the path, click OK. Now we have to power on this virtual machine now. Once you power on the machine, you will see this window. You just have to hit enter and it will start loading the operating system. It will take 5 to 10 minutes depending on the speed of your PC. The only thing we need to do here is wait. So we leave it as default English United States. Click on install now. We get multiple options here. If you want, you can select the first one as well, but I'm installing it on the desktop, so I'm just selecting the desktop one. Click next. As always, we agree to the license and we proceed. There's no way to deny it. If you deny, you won't be able to install it. And since it's a fresh installation, so we select install Windows only. And I have allocated 40 GB space because I already have the Active Directory installed as I mentioned before. So I just allocated 40 GB, but I'll recommend you to allocate at least 60 or 80 GB if you have enough space on the drive. Click next. So it's going to install it and then reboot the computer. You can create the same virtual environment on VM at your home. You can install Active Directory, then certificates, and then Vault, and you can integrate them. It might take 5 to 10 minutes, or maybe less than 10 minutes for sure. Sorry, I had to pause the video in between because it was taking a long time for installation. So after it is installed, we are going to set it up as a DC. So it's installing the updates now. It's going to reboot, and we have to set up password on it too. It's configuring Windows now. Windows Server 2016. That's the ISO which I downloaded from the Microsoft website. If you need the link to download it, I can share in my description page. You can go straight there and download it from there. Okay, it asks us to set the password. This is the password to log into the computer, not related to the Active Directory, just to be clear. So let's name it, let's keep all the passwords same. In the Vault Server installation, I set up as CyberArk 1 with C in uppercase. So I'm doing the same here, CyberArk 1, and the username is administrator. So our Windows Server 2016 is installed here. It's just booting up, it's just logging to the machine. Now you can see this machine has been set up, but if you check the view, it's only on half of the screen. So what you can do, uh, we have the option to make a view better. If you go to the VM, you get install VMware tools. Click on install VMware tools. And then it will give you the file to run. Select run setup64.exe and it's going to make view full for us. It's just installing it. We click next. We select typical, install. Yeah, you can see the view has changed now. It asks us to restart the computer, so let's reboot it. And now we will be assigning the IP address to it, and we will make it as a DC because in future when we do the integration for other components, they will be integrating with the Active Directory. Password is CyberArk1. So we have installed Windows Server 2016. Now we have to install Active Directory on it. So I'll show you how to do that. So whenever you launch Windows Server 2016, this window comes up by default. It will launch always. So if you want to make sure this window doesn't come up all the time, let me show you what you can do. Just click on Manage, click on Server Management Properties, select this option, Do not start Server Manager at logon, so it won't come up. Let's change the IP address of this machine first. We go to Open Network and Sharing Center, then we go to Change Adapter Settings, Ethernet, Properties, 0.70. I'm sorry. And since we are setting it up in the lab environment, so let's give this as the loopback one, the DNS. And just to cross verify, let's launch the command prompt and run ipconfig 0.70. And you can see we are logged in as an administrator here. So now we will be installing Active Directory on this Windows Server 2016. So we go to manage and then we click on add role features. That's the one way to do it. And the other way is a shortcut which is right in front of you. You can click on add roles and features and just select. There are two options. One is role based and the other one is for the remote desktop. So since we are doing it on this machine, we'll be selecting role based or feature based here. And this is for the machine. This is on the this needs I'm sorry, this needs to be done on the other machine. And one more thing, you can see this Win name as WinT4. This is the host name of the computer. So if you want to simplify it, I can cancel this and give a simple name to the machine so that it's not confusing when you try to install the Active Directory on the machine. So right click on this PC, go to properties, you can see the host name of this machine. It same was popping up there. So since we are making it as Active Directory, so let's give it AD2 as the name. Because the host name was a bit complicated. So just to avoid any confusion, I have changed it to AD2, Active Directory 2. So we are back on the login screen. The server manager will come up automatically because we haven't unchecked the option to cancel the auto logon. So we can see it's just loading up. Once done, we are going to click add roles and feature and try to install Active Directory. And this time you will see the host name will be changed to AD2. So we go to add roles and features. And same, click next. Since we are installing on this machine and configuring only one server, so we'll be selecting this one. This is not a VDI, so we are skipping the other step. Now you see the name here. Last time it was showing WinTD, something like that. It was a host name of that machine, which we didn't change. So we have simplified it and we have selected 80 this time. And this is the other thing is the IP address, which we have assigned. And this is the 2016 image. And we click next. We are installing Active Directory here. So we'll be selecting Active Directory Domain Services. We will be selecting certificate as well, but that will come later. First, we have to select Active Directory. And all these come as default once you select that option. And then you click next. Just have a look if we are not missing anything. Oh, good. So we'll click next. Click next again. Install. It will take around 10 minutes to install the Active Directory. Once installed, we have to make it as a DC controller. So if we rewind step by step, first we create the virtual machine, and then we map the ISO file which we downloaded from the Windows server, from the Microsoft website. We install the Windows server. Once that is done, we try to install the Active Directory. So it's going to install all the required components. It's 50% done. In fact, more than say 50%. So I think it should take 2 more minutes to perform the features installation. And once we have set up the AD and promoted it as a domain controller, we have to install the certificates, because without certificates, it won't communicate with the CyberArk components. So it's almost done. So you can see the option promote this server to a domain controller, but we will be doing it after the reinstallation of the machine. We click and close, and we reboot the machine again. And after the reboot, we are going to promote this machine as a domain controller. So machine is back online. CyberArk 1 is the password, as I mentioned before. Let's cross verify the IP address. You can see administrator here. It's still loading up. So you see this yellow exclamatory mark. If you click on here, you get the same thing which we were getting before the reboot. Promote the server to a domain controller. So we'll be doing it now. So we have to provide a domain name here. So what we do, we add a new forest. It's still booting up. It's not allowing me to select. Okay. So it's up to you what what domain name you want to give. Whatever company you're working with, you have domains there. So let's give it, it can be any name. So cyber.com. So this is going to be the domain, and machines will be connecting to this domain. So we give cyberark.com. You'll see the difference once this machine becomes DC. And let's give same password, CYB, CyberArk1. Although when you are in CyberArk environment, you don't have to do this Active Directory installation as part of the Wintel team, but I'm showing you because you want to set it up at the home environment and you want to integrate it. Otherwise, this is not your role and responsibility. It's totally part of the Wintel team. You can go through the options you're getting here and click next. So NetBIOS name, when your computer gets locked, you might have noticed in your company when your computer gets locked, it shows a certain name there, domain name or something. So once this computer becomes as domain controller and we reboot the computer, you will see the CyberArk will pop up there. So it comes as a default because we have already given as cyberark.com. So we can click next. It comes as default. Next. So when we set it up as DC, we have to provide the domain name, which we have done now. It's going to perform the prerequisite check and perform the installation after that. So you can see at the top it says all prerequisite checks has been passed successfully. So click next to continue and click install. Waiting for DNS installation to finish. Checking if group policy management console needs to be installed. So it's just doing the prerequisite check and installation after that. But as I said before, you don't have to do all this if you're working as a CyberArk administrator. Even if you are working as a CyberArk engineer and you have to install the components, you don't have to do Active Directory installation at all. And notice one more thing. If you go here to the command prompt, it shows administrator here. And you will see the difference once it becomes DC. You're about to be signed out. The computer is being restarted because Active Directory domain service was installed or removed. So click and close. It's restarting of its own. And if you talk about the machine configuration, on my machine, I have 16 GB of RAM and 500 SSD. Previously, I was having 250 hard drive, which made my computer slow. So I had to install 500. So I'll recommend at least 16 GB RAM should be there. And if you can't afford 500, then yeah, it should be okay to have 250. but your computer might be a bit slow. And once we have AD and certificate installed, you can create n number of users and you can onboard them onto the CyberArk. When we onboard them for the first time, it's going to be the automatic onboarding. It's going to integrate with LDAP that I'll tell you in another video, because before that we have to install the certificates too. It's still applying computer settings. So computer has been rebooted. If you notice one thing, before we made it as DC, it was showing up as administrator, and now this is the domain. Our domain is cyberark.com, and we're we got one option which says NetBIOS name, which is CyberArk. So that's the difference now. You might have noticed the same thing when you log into your machine in your organization. It comes with the NetBIOS name there. Password remains the same, which is CyberArk1 with C in uppercase, and it's up to you what name you want to set it up. And this keeps coming back every time we log in. So this time I'm going to uncheck it. You go to Manage, you go to Server Manager Properties. Do not start Server Manager automatically at logon. So AD has been installed on it. Many of you might be knowing this already, that you can always launch AD via dsa.msc and cyberark.com. That's the domain which we gave to the machine. And now in future, we will be integrating all the components to the domain. If you select who am I, you see this CyberArk administrator. Same thing again, NetBIOS name and administrator. So you click on users. These are the default users and group which comes up when you install AD for the first time. And you can now create users, groups, test, last name, user. So user logon name, let's give it test user at cyberark.com. User must change the password, so we'll say password never expires. CyberArk1. So we have created one test user. So when this user logs into the domain which belongs to cyberark.com, he can log in with CyberArk1. This way you can create groups and users on Active Directory. So in the next video, I'll show you how to install the Active Directory certificates. Once we install the Active Directory certificates, we are going to integrate AD with CyberArk components. Hope you liked the video. Please like and subscribe so that you don't miss the CyberArk tutorials. I'll be sharing step-by-step instructions so that you can set it up in the lab environment and practice of your own. Thank you so much. Have a great day ahead. Bye bye.